Hello, welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we are coming with a little review that I know we've talked about doing for probably, over 500 plus episodes. And it's one of my favorite movies of both these directors kind of coming together for this fusion dance of tag team awesomeness. And that is True Romance, the movie that's written by Quentin Tarantino, but directed by Tony Scott, which I think always makes for such a good 1-2 punch of, like, you can't really ask for a better team up than that almost. Other than maybe Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez and From Dusk Till Dawn.
Well, it is also a very different kind of team up because I guess at the time, well, now it's weird because Tarantino still has a very signature style. And a lot of times if someone tries to make a movie like Tarantino, or very Tarantino coded, people get judged for it, but he could still make those movies and people still flock to theaters to see him. Even people who don't like long movies. But then, like, at the time though, I guess this is when he was on the come up. So they're getting basically what people view it at is because I was actually listening to one of the audio commentaries of this, just not even on the DVD or anything, but like on YouTube. No, it's right. I have that one, but it was on. Yeah, YouTube.
I remember because when I found this at Best Buy back in the day when it came out, and I literally gave you a phone call, like probably on an old school before even texting, be like, "Dude, I found True Romance on like a special edition. Do you want me to buy you a copy?"
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And I had I was just listening to, like, it wasn't the one that's on that DVD because I know that Tony Scott's on that one. I haven't listened to that one, but I was just leading up for this. I was just looking for all the information I could find on it, and there's one of just Tarantino just talking the whole time, and I haven't finished it. I was listening on my way to work and I was walking my dog and all that, but apparently at the time he didn't use this exact word, but I guess Tony Scott was viewed as more as kind of like a Michael Bay, someone who is like overly commercial. He's like kind of like, yeah, you get him for the big glossy Bruckheimer stuff. People in my circles did not like Tony Scott. But the thing is, I fucking love Tony Scott. I never stopped loving Tony Scott. Tony Scott was always one of my favorites, So when I heard that Tony Scott was interested in one of my movies, I was like, holy shit, I gotta fucking, So it was one of those things where, like, it was just like, because it does sound like, it is interesting. It is like this young upcoming filmmaker's like first finished script, because he said he would basically get to 30 pages and he'd have trouble getting past the first 30 pages and then or just move on to something else. But this is the first one where he sat down, cranked it out, and finished it. This is his first script he ever completely finished.
Well, and this is the one too that he sold, and I think he got like $30,000 or something back in the day, which would be like almost like close to $90,000 nowadays.
Yeah.
So it was like he was going to take that money and use it to do an indie version of Reservoir Dogs, and lo and behold, Reservoir Dogs, like once they read the script of Reservoir, like, fuck, let's throw some money in this. Let's get Harvey Keitel. Is he going to take his pants off? No, not in this one.
He wants to.
He wants to, He's almost not too sure if he's going to sign if he can't take his pants off at some point.
he wanted to do the audition, like, you're Harvey Keitel. There's no need for an audition. Like, well, I just want to really, start unbuckling his belt. Like, Harvey, come on.
But when you do think about it, though, with like Tony Scott and everything like that, because here's the thing: it's like Tarantino was saying about the big movies. It's like, yeah, like what did Tony do before this? Oh, just little movies like Days of Thunder, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, fucking The Last Boy Scout. So like you could kind of see where like it is. And I always feel like when you look at Michael Bay stuff, I always feel Michael Bay is almost like if he took like John Woo and Tony Scott, that's kind of like what turns into Michael Bay, And I'm not saying that because I like all three of those directors a lot, but I especially like Tony Scott, though. He's one of those ones that, like, at the end of the day, when I think of all the movies he's ever done, and I know this almost sounds blasphemy, but I almost think I like him more than I like Ridley Scott. And don't get me wrong, I really like Ridley, but, like, there's something about Tony's movies that they're just fun. They're action-packed. I always have a great time. I can't even really think of a movie I didn't care for. I mean, even when I look in the future, it's like Man on Fire, fantastic. I like Domino, the remake of Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3, like all those even Crimson Tide and all that stuff, like, fun.
Did he do Deja Vu?
Yeah, he did that one. which I remember when that came out.
That was good. That was good.
That was a great one,
yeah.
but we were doing a spin the night thing, and it was just like, we had this old buddy, Dex, he's all like, oh man, we gotta watch some Deja Vu. Dude, the party's not gonna be complete unless we Deja Vu it up tonight. Like, he was like pumping this movie up, like, like, you know, three 15-year-olds are gonna get together and get really hopped up, you know, on soda and fucking watch some Deja Vu.
Go back in time.
You know, but yeah, that's the thing, is Tony did all these great ones and so on like that. And really, like, the True Romance thing, it's funny because you watch this movie, and this movie literally comes out in 93, so it's post Reservoir Dogs, but Pulp Fiction and everything else has yet to come out. And it's amazing how Tarantino this movie feels, just in so many avenues of, like, acting or actor choices, you know, just to, like, even just this, of course, it's like Tony kind of follows the script pretty darn well. You know, I know Tarantino would come in and probably tell you just the little things that are, hey, I would have done this a little bit different. I would have done this. And I know the ending in Tarantino's version, he has more of a 70s ending where it's a little bit more darker compared to like the super happy ending that this one kind of has, you know. Well, super happy for two people, not for everybody else. But you know, for the most part, though, it's
2.5 when you think about it.
It's still kind of amazing how similar though this is, you know, just when you think of like the actors, like these are like a lot of the actors that are in this, it's like these are actors that Tarantino will kind of use later on. And who knows, I'm not too sure, maybe, you know, Tony Scott had more of a powwow with Tarantino and so on. You never know as 100%. It's, you know, where some directors, we all know, like Oliver Stone kind of took Tarantino's Natural Born Killers, and even though, don't get me wrong, I love the Oliver Stone version, he did just sort of do the Oliver Stone version, like, cool, I'll take the script and I'll put some psychedelic 60s stuff to it, you know, and do my thing. You know, it's Doors, you know, meets, you know, violence. Why not?
A little bit of the Partridge Family while we're at it. Or Brady Bunch or some shit like that.
Yeah, with Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Shut up. You're a fucking idiot.
That's the part that actually made Tarantino says that's the part where he walked out of the theater on that
that's
scene.
That's my fucking favorite part of the movie. I get it. It's probably not in the script at all. It's probably something way different. But the fact that Rodney Dangerfield's in there and he's like the shittiest, dirtiest, like old father character, but he's Rodney Dangerfield still. It's fucking hilarious.
Well, it's also something about that is I actually wouldn't mind pulling up the Tarantino, because he even changed the narrative device of what that movie was. It didn't, because his scripts apparently did not focus on the murder couple. The script focused on the Robert Downey Jr. character following them, and then we would get some of the stories out of order here and there, kind of Tarantino style, and then it was kind of like seeing like how people would react to it rather than following them and then seeing the reporter react. So, and that sounds like an interesting movie. Like they're more of like a presence in the movie more than the main characters. And I'm also, I know they die in the original script too, but which I think is more of a fitting ending in all honesty. But at the same time though, this right here, this movie was actually, he followed the script pretty closely. Apparently, the big difference, aside from the ending, is he did the Tarantino thing, because he didn't make Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs yet, where it was out of order. So it basically, we meet them at the movie theater, and I won't go. I don't think I need to say this with spoilers ahead for the movie, but this is just more of just, I'll be vague about this part. They meet, I believe, at the movie theater. They jump ahead to where they're meeting the dad, and they're being kind of vague, kind of sketchy, and then they leave. And then that's when the mobsters come in and basically say, hey, you realize what your kid fucking did? You know, and all that scene happens. And then I think from there, I might be getting things a little mixed up, but things go a little bit out of order. And then they get to LA, and then they tell the story to their friend, Dick Ritchie, how they got there. And that's how they open the case of cocaine. So it kind of starts off with audience knowing nothing, audience being told everything, and then the audience knowing everything that they don't know, because there's the 3 or 4 stories happening at the same time with the cops and all that, you know.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes kind of more sense in a Tarantino kind of vibe, that it would have that kind of back and forth sort of action thing. It'd be kind of cool. Like that's one of those ones. Like I don't know how much exact effort this would take, but just to take the script and kind of repiece the movie in almost like that Tarantino style editing. Even if you had to break it up with even like chapters, if that just kind of made it easier for your editing section, like kind of like Kill Bill maybe, and just to see what it would look like, kind of paced out like that, because and Tony Scott just does it like chronological. It just goes straight all the way through, which works in the same way, but it might have actually been a little bit more shocking with certain things, like when you saw it or like, oh shit, that's how they got here. Like you've already gone with these characters for 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden you kind of realize it's like, oh no, like fucking Christian Slater blasted a dude and so on like that, and stole the fucking money or stole the drugs and then left and whatnot. There could be some cool stuff, just seeing it like in that kind of order for the first time, I guess, at least.
Yeah, because the thing is, he says when you first meet him, you like him enough, but you don't know him that well, and then when you hear the stuff they did, like they did this because the mobsters don't have all the information. They think that they killed everybody there. They think they're working together. They don't know that there's a bunch of shit going on. So, but yeah, when you said like this does feel like a Tarantino movie, but doesn't feel like a first and foremost Tarantino movie. There is a lot of Tony Scott in it, and I think the thing that makes it feel like Tarantino more than anything is because it doesn't have the Tarantino music choices. It doesn't have the Tarantino style like narrative structure, which was at the time, which doesn't really happen as much in his more recent movies, but still might happen to some extent. And it didn't have like some of that more stylized editing. But the thing that reminds you it's a Tarantino movie is the kind of pop culture references that weren't around at the time, and the fact the main character is Tarantino. Christian Slater character, Clarence, he said at the time this was basically like, I think that's one of the interesting things about this movie is, I mean, I know it's happened. A lot of people put themselves into their work, but the idea that like, I don't know, there's just something very, I guess, because we know who Tarantino is after this time. It's kind of almost, I think it's like, in some ways this could be backfire and this could be the most annoying thing ever, because you look at, say, something like The Room. A lot of times you get these movies where it's like someone who's like, they have this passion project and they're writing, directing, producing, and starring. And who is he? He's the guy who fucks all the ladies. He's the coolest guy in the room, all this and that type of shit. That shit can get fucking tedious. Now, granted, he makes his character a little bit more grounded, but this is his ultimate fantasy of what he wished could happen to him or could happen to him at this time, apart than like dying at the end, which in this version he does not die. But still, it's kind of like, when you think about it, it's kind of like, it's endearing in that way. And it's like, wow, this was like the fantasy of a 25-year-old, and this is his first script. This could have been so much fucking worse.
Yeah, exactly. And it is really true, because when you do think about like the Christian Slater character, it's almost like if it was like a Woody Allen movie, and like I probably picture Tarantino like at one point thought like, well, I'll just be the main character in it. Like, don't worry about it. We'll shoot this like, very indie style and so on like that, and it is kind of an interesting character though when you think about it at the same time, because there's a lot of ballsy stuff that's in this movie when you think for the era that it's coming out in and so on like that. Because our main character is literally a dude who fucking loves movies and works at a comic book store, but he's fucking cool as fuck. You know what I mean? He's not nerdy one bit or anything like that. Obviously, like when he has that conversation with the chick at the bar beginning and stuff, and they're talking about Elvis, he's like, I would fuck Elvis. She's like, yeah, I'd fuck Elvis too. You know what I mean? Like that. He's a good fucking looking guy, And then he's like, you want to go see fucking Sonny Chiba? She's like, no. Elvis, yeah, I'd fuck Elvis. I ain't fucking Sonny Chiba though. Like, we're just gonna watch him for 6 hours, but.
Well, even that part, because the whole thing is like, I guess they get across that he's lonely, because you're right, they don't make him out to be a total nerd, but the thing is, he said that this movie was obviously the shootout and getting married to like he even said like Alabama by Roseanne Arquette is not even like his type of girl. He just wanted to have a nice girl in the story. He says for him he'd prefer a girl that's smarter than himself and challenges him. He says, I'm not saying that girl's dumb, but she's more emotion first. And the thing with a character like that is that's more of like a he just wanted a character that was emotionally vulnerable and very outspoken and all that. And I think there is something about, because when you first see Alabama, she does just come across as like kind of a dumb ditzy trailer park girl, but you see that she's like really fun. She just wants to, and you kind of learn more about her, and you realize, oh, she's very gutsy too, and she also is able to, like, though she may not say it, she's able to look at a situation and parse together what's happening and react to it and hold things off as long as she can, before she's like, fuck this, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. She's really ballsy, and at the same time, she's very like open-minded and so on like that. And like, because the perfect example is you take the contrast of that chick at the beginning of the bar, who just like, Sonny Chiba, fuck this shit, like I'm out of here, like this.
Yeah.
And the fact that like she's just open to like, yeah, I'll check out whatever you're into. I mean, you know what I mean? Like this sounds cool, and whatnot. She's just easy go. It feels like a girl that was kind of put into like some bad situations, and she was just looking for that way finally out. You know what I mean? Like she didn't necessarily want to do all the things that she had to do to get here, but this is kind of it. And to find the guy who actually seems to care about her and not want to use her and all kinds of stuff, that's where the Christian Slater is. But once again, he's kind of, I just think about like this time period, because I feel like this is one of these movies that like, this is why I feel like it's kind of safe in Tony Scott's hands, because I feel there'd be a lot of other directors that would look at this and be like, what? No, we're not gonna. He's not gonna go see a fucking, Chinese triple feature. Oh, that's Japanese, sir. What's the fucking difference? It'd be one of those things. Like, oh, no, he's not gonna work at a comic book store. Maybe let's make him work at like an auto racing track or something like that. He's in Detroit.
Yeah.
Like, I could see some other director really trying to like change that around, but the fact that they leave all that in there and so on like that. And really, it's the dialogue is what makes this Tarantino as fuck, in a sense. Like, I just don't think that too much of that stuff is tampered with for the most part, because just the way that the characters interact, just their casual conversations, their little sayings and, classic phrases just kind of thrown in, they're all there, which somebody else might have ironed that out a little bit more, too.
Yeah, well, it's also, like, you're right, because the dialogue is very Tarantino. Because I think back on, on Natural Born Killers, and that doesn't, from what I remember, that does not seem super Tarantino style dialogue from what I remember. I might need to watch it again, spend some time, but I see hints of Tarantino in that. In this, though, he's all over it, and it seems like Tony Scott was trying to be very faithful to the script. The other thing about that is, I think you're right. Aside from the dialogue, one of the things that is very Tarantino about it is, I think it's trying to get, the main character is like a movie fan, a cinephile who at the time would have just been like a side character in a movie, who's just like, I'm really into movies. That's great. Get the fuck out of the way. Main character.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the fucking spinny glasses on if he was an anime character and so on like that.
They either do that or they make him look like George Lucas from the '60s. It's one of those two things, or like a thicker guy, like in like a brown coat, like, oh, I'm here to make movies, just something kind of like one of those three things, And this, he's just like, no, he's just a guy who's really into movies. And it was also something he said is, he's a young kid who's out of his depth, but at the same time, he's been educated. He's lived off movies and pop culture his whole life. And when one of the reasons why they go to Hollywood is because, well, this is a place where he could speak their language because he's into movies. He knows all the movies. So that's his door in. That's how he can schmooze like the producer or something like that, So that's kind of like, that makes sense. I mean, I don't think it would work out that way. But in the context of this movie, I think it makes perfect sense right there. Because I think a lot of producers would be like, well, that producer, he was like a mixture of the two. Like he loved movies, but he was still, he's apparently based off Joel Silver, from what I'm told. Like, I'm not sure how much of it is what Tarantino knew about Joel Silver, or what Tony Scott added about, let's make him more based off Joel Silver.
Yeah, kind of has that in there and so on like that, and the connection I guess he also has is he has like, I guess his best friend is the guy in Los Angeles who's an up and coming actor, so it's like that gives kind of a reason why he sort of goes there, and he's just like, hey, But what it is it like, Alabama, meets him at that Sonny Chiba triple feature, which, you can never go wrong with a Sonny Chiba triple feature. It's kind of a rundown old theater in Detroit and everything like that. And he's just there by himself watching. He's at the very end of the movie and she stumbles in. Yeah, I love how she stumbles in and she spills the popcorn all over him, all this stuff, just to kind of give his attention. She asks him what's going on in the movie. It's almost like that one, like, yo, this is the last scene of the movie. Like, there's a lot you got to catch up on real quick here.
Well, it's also something to the effect of, like, I understand. I mean, you got to get the movie going somehow. But I imagine Tarantino, like, what I know of him, I imagine, like, what the fuck? I'm trying to watch a movie here. I just imagine that happening. Like, not interested. Like, why are you talking during the fucking movie? This is church, goddammit. Like, I'd imagine that. But, like, the movie has to happen somehow,
Yeah. So, they go out and they have the one super, they go to get pie afterwards and talk film and talk, music and stuff like that. Because he's really into rockabilly and 50s stuff. Because I think that's the other thing that makes that Christian Slater character of Clarence kind of interesting. Is he's kind of a guy, too, who's a man out of time almost, in a sense, too. He's in, he almost wishes he could be living in, like, the 50s, 60s era with, like, that rockabilly time, though he likes movies of, the 70s and so on like that. A lot of the stuff that he's into is very retro and vintage. I mean, even the Spider-Man comics, though, they say they're talking about Spider-Man 1, but they're showing Spider-Man 6 or whatever, I'll give that a little bit of a pass, that's one of those ones. It's still pretty ballsy just to show a Spider-Man comic fucking in a movie as like a scene for a romantic date. So you know what? I don't care what issue it is. You could be showing him a fucking picture of like the Incredible Hulk, and I'd be like, sure, that's close enough.
Wait till you see what he does with that fist. Yeah, no. Wait till I see what he smashes. So I'll say this about this movie. I love this movie. I really love it, and I'm sure for some people or a lot of people, this is a romantic movie. I really don't. I'm not saying this to be a dick, but I really don't think it's like a romantic movie in that way. I honestly think it's more of like what a 25-year-old thinks is romantic. A 25-year-old guy thinks is romantic, and that's like, dude, I met this chick. And this isn't me giving the movie shit. I'm just being realistic. Dude, I just met this chick. She only wants to know about me. She only wants to talk about the things I'm into. She only wants to talk about like movies and shit and rockabilly, and she never really pushes back on anything. I fucking killed a guy the other day. She thought that was awesome. Now we're just like running away together. Everything's fucking awesome, dude. Like, oh yeah, cool, right on. It's romantic as fuck. Yeah, it is romantic as fuck, So
it's not just romance, it's true romance.
Dude, you're right. High five, credits.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, no wrong, I love this movie. It definitely is like written from the perspective of like a 25-year-old film nerd. But like I said, I think that's very endearing about it because you got like that could be the worst thing in the world. But when you have someone like Tony Scott, who Tarantino's already on another level. He's already a fantastic writer, but like and director. But at this point, he's more known as a writer. But like with Tony Scott being able to see the good story in there and then like knowing what to focus on, I think that really helped elevate that,
Yeah, no. I think so too. I think it probably in a weird way, for the most part, maybe it dialed it in just that little bit more that maybe it needed, because this script predates Reservoir Dogs as well, even though Reservoir Dogs comes before this movie wise.
Because I feel like most movies. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say because I think this script, if I'm not mistaken, was give or take like sold and written in like 91 or something like that. 92 at the latest, but I think 91. So you could tell that it's by that standard it would be even an earlier version of before Reservoir Dogs and all the other stuff too. And same with From Dusk Till Dawn, and because I think he did like From Dusk Till Dawn, Reservoir Dogs. Or not Reservoir Dogs, For Dusk Till Dawn, True Romance, and Natural Born Killers. I think were all written technically before Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
Because that was the thing about like From Dusk Till Dawn was sold, and that's why he's like hey Robert, grab that movie, and then we can do it together, kind of thing. Because I think it was kind of out of his hands, but that's how he could kind of get it back in his hands.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Well, the thing is, thinking back on his movies, like all his movies, I think this might be the only movie where you have like a relatively normal audience avatar. because everything else is, it's like you're kind of looking in this world, and you kind of pick up on things about the world as it goes on, like all his movies, like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Kill Bill. You're in these crime worlds, or assassin worlds, and you just pick up. Same thing with Django Unchained, Hateful Eight. Even though this one's a little bit more toned down, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that's like you're in the film industry, in Cliff Booth. If you don't learn this, we get hints of it in the movie, but in the book we learn he's like the baddest motherfucker alive, who would be the star of like 85 different action movies, so that's the thing about like all his other stories. This is the one that is the most like, here's the closest thing we have to a regular guy. And I think that's what makes it kind of stand out among the rest of his other movies, if that makes any sense, because even Jackie Brown, she was somebody who was already involved in crime, where this is a guy who just decides one day, I love this girl, I'm going to commit a crime for her.
Yeah, no, it is kind of true, because it's almost kind of like a Coen Brothers movie, where it's just like a regular person thrown into an extreme situation, because literally it's like once he learns that like, oh, she didn't just go on a date with me, she's actually a call girl, and my boss hired her because he thought I was lonely and I shouldn't be by myself watching 3 Sonny Chiba movies in a row.
That's a cool boss. Shit.
Yeah, it's a cool boss. Yeah, he's just taking care of him. He actually is concerned that you're by yourself watching Sonny Chiba movies, but so it's like, and then she's like, you know what? I still, I love you. I know it seems like I got paid to love you, but I do. She's like, well, you know what? I'm going to go get your things, and I'm going to go tell that pimp, what's up. And this is one of the most amazing parts, too, is Gary Oldman in here is literally Gary Oldman, I feel, the greatest actor of all time, the actor who plays so many different roles. Sometimes you can't even recognize him in certain movies. This would be one, too. If you threw this on TV, you would probably not catch this right off the bat. But Gary Oldman plays the pimp, and he plays it like as black as all can be for Gary Oldman, which you just do not expect Gary Oldman to be, doing that. Playing
a Rastafarian, like, pimp. Yeah, and the thing named Drexel, which the thing is like... it sounds funny, but he actually is intimidating. He is someone you could tell right off the bat, 'cause he's like that much of a psycho. Like Dave Chappelle had that old bit, like, you'll see a group of like 7 black guys and there's one white guy in the group. Stay away from that guy. There is no telling what that motherfucker did to get all their respects.
That's 100% what Gary Oldman is, because he's the only white dude in here, and he's got all his black friends. He's even got Samuel L. Jackson that shows up. See, once again, to kind of give that Tarantino proto vibe. You're like, oh well, there's Samuel L. Jackson coming in there to give some to choose some dialogue for a moment. This is the time period where Samuel L. Jackson doesn't last very long in movies. Yeah.
This is before Pulp Fiction, so yeah. Which apparently, but when they're filming Pulp Fiction, this movie came out, and they all as a cast and crew went to go check this movie out together, and so it's like, oh, Sam's in the movie, cool,
Yeah, but he's got some good lines. He's got some funny stuff in there and so on like that, But yeah, so it's like Christian Slater goes there to talk to the pimp guy, and it gets this nice, cool, intimidating scene. Gary Oldman really gets to choose scenery. It's one of those dangerous ones, like you don't know what's going to go on. But I just also love the idea that when shit goes down, fucking Christian Slater just unloads on him, doesn't give a fuck, kills everybody in the room, in a sense, which is just kind of, once again, another ballsy one, too. You take the guy's like, here's a guy from a fucking comic book store. He doesn't give a fuck. He'll go in there and shoot the living daylights out of everybody, no regrets.
I don't remember, did any random ladies or people in the background catch stray bullets, or was it just Gary Oldman and the bodyguard?
Just Gary Oldman, the bodyguard. I was going to say maybe one other person.
Maybe another bodyguard.
He's only got a 6-shooter, so I guess, and he unloads it completely, if not more than what he's got. But
well, the thing is, it's also kind of like the way he breaks it down, because like Val Kilmer as Elvis appears to him in visions, like, and you never see his face, like, oh, it's like, man, you're a bad motherfucker, all that kind of stuff, and tells him the guy's a pimp. Cops ain't gonna be looking for you. Like, oh, the cops will be happy that you shot this motherfucker. Go get her shit, get your woman, and all that kind of stuff. And when he does it, and the thing is, when he walks in that scene, because he is a guy who's out of his depth, but the movie almost kind of captures it and lets you know that, okay, maybe he's out of his depth, but he's kind of there's a part that's this whole time, because he tells him to take a seat, have some Chinese food or whatever. He's like, I'm not eating. He's like, this motherfucker, he's clearly scared because he's not doing nothing. Like he didn't sit down. He's not willing to talk with me. He's not willing to watch a movie with me right now. And there's a pair of titties on the screen. And I know I'm pretty, but I am prettier than a pair of titties. And he says like, I'm not eating because I'm not hungry. I'm not sitting because I don't plan on staying. I'm not watching the movie because I saw it 7 years ago. It stars, it goes off and says it was directed by so-and-so. So it's like one of those things like, that's very Tarantino right there. That is very Tarantino. I just got to, in this life or death situation, I just got to slide in this little thing about that obscure movie.
Yeah, exactly. Just to have it there, And I think it's that thing where it's like the Christian Slater character. It's like, like, once again, I feel like in somebody else's script, they would have to make this character like, oh, he's never fired a gun before or whatever. Like, this is going to be a shocking moment and stuff. And it's like, no, it's almost like, I've seen fucking action movies before. Like, I know what to do. Like, I've had the training footage shown before me. And he almost just goes in there, guns ablaze. And like, once shit goes down, and well, at first he's going to work out a deal, but he does it like in a ballsy way where he's like, I'm going to pay you off for Alabama and not a cent more and everything like that. And he gives him this envelope and everything like that. Gary Oldman opens it and there's nothing in there.
Yeah. And then that tussle begins shortly after, which the thing about that, because even like this is the first like violent action. So there's the part where Gary Oldman kills the guys, but the guys he was partying with. But because I was thinking those guys are making a deal and then he unloads and kills those guys. Gary Oldman takes the money, and then he's partying later, and then Christian Slater doesn't even mean to steal the suitcase of cocaine. He just points a gun at somebody, says like, "Get Bama's things, throw it in the bag," and then she just grabs the nearest bag, which happens to be a bag full of cocaine. So, and that's how they got it, which I thought that's a clever way to get that. But it's also something to the effect of like, because you're right, he goes, he is like, it's not like this, oh, I took a life, oh no, but it's more of like the adrenaline of everything is more what got him. And there's moments where you kind of see he's a little scared. He's like, fuck you. And it's all like crazy, just like fighting. That's where things like, because like right now, like I acknowledge how crazy it is, but it seems kind of tame compared to the things that have come out since then. But looking back, when I'm like, this movie almost got like an NC-17 just for like this kind of scene, just for the scene where they're talking about eating pussy, just for the scene where Alabama fights back more against James Gandolfini, just like, really, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just like this kind of shit that just like, this seems so tame compared to like other things. I mean, they're not saying it's not intense or crazy shit in this movie. There is, but not like the most insane shit that I think's been put on screen.
Well, it's because it's that late 80s and early 90s period is a softer section of time period, because they were cracking down out hard on movies. Because like in this, it's like in 82 or whatever like that. That was the point. Like, dude, we gotta pull this fucking back on these slasher movies and so on like that. You people are getting out of control there. And so, ironically, the 80s movies, which you still can sometimes think of 80s movies being over the top, like a lot of violence and killing. But if you think about it, a lot of the killing that's in 80s movies is done almost like in justified ways. It's mostly like good guy versus clear bad guys. There's not a whole lot of dark stuff in between. It's kind of like, it's almost like just G.I. Joe rated R is pretty much like what so much stuff becomes. And especially and then the 90s get even more tamer for that early 90s period, especially because that was a hard time. They had like that transition thing where they didn't even really want rated R movies. That's why we started getting a lot of PG-13 action films all of a sudden. And I'm not saying anything against them because there's some that are great and so on like that. But even like Last Action Hero, like comments on that during the movie for the fact that this movie's PG-13 and there's certain things he's not going to be able to do and so on like that. And that was just, and I think what was happening was that so many movies is, I think what they realize is that like they're like, shit, who like some of our biggest demographic is going to see a lot of these movies like RoboCop and Predator and Rambo and all this stuff? It's fucking kids, so let's make some cartoons, let's sell some fucking action figures. And then they started to get to the point where they would have movies and they'd be like, well, we'll do the PG-13 version. Like I just watched RoboCop 3 the other day because I bought like the super special edition of it, and I've never really seen that. Yeah, I've never seen that one all the way through, but it's PG-13. I think it's the same year. I think it's actually 93. I could be wrong, maybe 92. But and that movie, they have it's got the dude who did fucking Night of the Creeps and Monster Squad is the director.
Oh, that guy.
You know, and they're like, yeah, he knows how to work with children and everything like that. And so they got a good director and everything like that. And the actor was kind of cool because the special features actually had him on there and all the stuff we talked about it being like, it's like, yeah, I got a lot of shit for this movie when it came out. People were so fucking pissed that it was PG-13 and all kinds of stuff. And we, you know, and then I was toning back the Frank Miller script and everything like that. He's like, I actually kept most of the Frank stuff in there. We just toned back the violence and just kept it wrangled into that, you know, for the most part. But, you know, when I was watching, I was like, you know, if you take it for what it is, the PG-13 movie, I actually thought RoboCop 3 was actually pretty fucking good. I liked it more than number 2, you know.
I've never seen 3. 2 was such a drop-off from 1, so, and I saw 3 was PG-13, like, I'll get around to it, but never really did.
Yeah, I kid you not, and it feels kind of like this, you know, when you know it's kind of Frank, it's like he fights a Japanese RoboCop guy in there. And so on like that. So it's early 90s, so it has that like that almost like we have fear of the Japanese businessmen taking everything over kind of. There's a handful of those movies at that time period.
Like Die Hard and whatnot, yeah.
Yeah, Die Hard and fucking oh shit, what's that one? There's that one of Sean Connery where Sean Connery's literally playing the most Japanese guy in the movie.
Sun?
Yeah, Rising Sun, but
yeah.
Sean Connery, he's like, I am very, you know, into hado and all this kind of stuff, or not hot.
He's into the dark hot. Do you know the ways of the dark hado? have you like me challenged Akuma?
He's telling this to Wesley Snipes.
Hadouken.
But yeah, so there's all those. But I'm just saying, it's like, so this period is like, so in a sense, true romance.
Sorry, he does that little like Akuma like little like purple wave thing that.
The Street Fighter movie starring Sean Connery as Akuma.
Fucking go for it. Why not?
But so at the time though, like true romance actually, if you take it in context for what it is, it's kind of a fucking ballsy movie when they're trying to go a completely other way, and you're like, no, we're gonna have these really bloody shootouts, which you didn't really see as much in the early '90s. Because even movies that are kind of rated R, like sometimes still even the violence in them, you know, it's there, but it's not like ridiculous, you know, or they'll cut away in a sense and so on like that. Where this one still does have a lot of bloodshed for what it is. I mean, of course, we'll see more as the decade goes on. But and even the fact that when later in the movie when Alabama's just getting living daylights beat out of her by James Gandolfini and she's just kind of bleeding out and everything like that, but she's still fighting back and so on like that. You know, you're just watching this lady get beat over and over for like multiple scenes, and then she finally like succeeds and overcomes it and so on like that. I think that's just that one. Like once again, it's early 90s, and you kind of forget that time period was in a different ballpark. You know, they were trying to focus on big PG-13 summer blockbuster type films.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it's just I guess think of other 90s movies that are like just as violent or more violent. But I guess if this would have been one of the forerunners of that, though. So that would make sense why. Because it was before Pulp Fiction, so
yeah, and that's the thing is Pulp Fiction's sort of the catalyst that starts the changeover of you know, where we go from being kind of like and once again like we go from like a studio system to being like, oh shit, there's all these new ballsy directors coming out. Robert Rodriguez with Desperado, Kevin Smith with Clerks and all its fucking swearing, you know, and all these different movies that like kind of break the norm once again, and then we get, you know, what you kind of more think of the 90s, you know, later in line.
Reservoir Dogs turned heads, but it didn't really like make a bunch of money. Like I think it did all right, but it was more turning heads and like, who is this Tarantino guy? Well, his next movie we'll see. And after the like lukewarm response of because like cinephiles liked it, but it wasn't like this movie that was like didn't make a bunch of money or anything like that. So they're like, okay, you're probably gonna be one of those directors that you have your following, people really like you who are in that following, but you're never going to be like the guy. And the next movie, no, he's the guy. So funny how that turn happens. But because I guess this wasn't viewed as a sophomore slump. It's more of a side project in hindsight, I guess. But
yeah, and sadly, True Romance didn't do. It's one of those. It's more like a cult classic movie as time has sort of gone. Because I don't think it did great at first. Because once again, I think people are like, oh, it's a little too violent. I don't know if you. Yeah. We should be, you know, showing this play. You know, you get the fucking stupid hat lady that probably is like out there by this point, and so.
You say she's probably dead at this point? Is that you said?
No, she's not dead yet.
I think you say she's probably dead. She's probably fucking dead by this point. Like maybe, I don't know, but like.
No, because she has to fight Tarantino on fucking Kill Bill on TV, so.
I remember that. I mean, it's probably. I wonder, like, well, just the idea. I gave it 4.5 hats. I gave it 3 hats, and just like you're with the San Francisco, like we are with a San Francisco station. You thought you'd be more of kind of like loosey goosey and artsy. Like, no, too violent, no soul. You're like, all right.
Well, probably. I hate to sort of say it, probably what she is she's probably, because that lady was kind of older, so she's probably a hippie generation. Yeah. So I kind of hate to sort of say it. Some of those people, like, they sort of frowned on the violent stuff. You know, they're like, should be more peace and love and so on. Like, I mean, Easy Rider had some violence in it, you know, but you know, it's like one of those
the end, and they died for it. Makes sense, yeah. But like those good old boys, put them in their proper place in the ground. Like what was I going to say? For people who don't know, like you look it up on YouTube, Tarantino was trying to push Kill Bill, and he was on some like YouTube. He was on some like on like a morning show. Like he wasn't even physically there. He was calling in morning show, like trying to push Kill Bill, and this lady's like, well, it was a little too violent. He says, like, I think parents should take their kids to go see Kill Bill because it's going to make them feel empowered and this and that. I saw it. Yeah, it's rated R, but whatever, this and that, which is a very Tarantino thing to say. You know, I think I'll say it depends on the kid. But I think in those kind of moments, you have to just kind of like go with the flow. But she starts to push back. It's like, but there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of violence. And then today they end up just having this blowout, like on like San Francisco morning news, this blowout. He's like, Jim, I didn't make the movie for you. I made it for me. Like, it's just this thing, like, it's like, you know, it's like, no, Twin, it's a bad movie. There's no soul to the movie. There's no soul. And like it cuts back to the other head anchors. Like, okay, well, anyway, Kill Bill's coming out this Friday, and
yeah, he's just trying to like, let's get out of here. Okay.
I wonder, like, that lady. I wonder. I never looked it up. It's like, does that lady still have a career after that? Because that had to be the thing. Like, someone just like storm walk into the fucking break room. Like, they go to like the top. Like, they open like the freezer. There's a thing of vodka in there. Start like pouring it like a Dixie cup, just shaking. Like, oh fuck. I give that interview 2 hats. That was not good.
Yeah, something like that. Oh man, but no, I fucking love that clip because it's just he goes to town on her, and he still he's yelling, but he still stays like on point and so on like that. And this lady just was not expecting this kind of force back, so she has nothing more to say. But it's just violent. It's violent. It's too violent. Not for kids.
She was getting like substitute teacher energy. Like, she did not get the low. She was not told about like Jimmy, who sits in the 3rd row, and like all the things that usually don't work aren't kicking in, you know. So.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, but going back to True Romance here. You know, as we say, like, okay, so Christian Slater, he's blown the living daylights out of fucking Gary Oldman and all the guys there. He's got the coke, but he doesn't realize it yet. He goes back to the apartment. He gets a burger. And he's like, this is the best goddamn fucking burger ever, because that's what it is after you just killed a bunch of people that, you know, it's going to taste amazing when you're just starving and so on. And then they realize, like, we got to beat feet out of here. I got a buddy in Hollywood, but first, let's go see Pops, who, and once again, lo and behold, who happens to be fucking the dad, but Dennis fucking Hopper.
Yeah, and you could see there's this tension between Dennis Hopper and Christian Slater. They haven't seen each other in years, but he wishes him the best. And he says, like, I need to know if anybody's looking for me, because you have some friends in the force. And he's like, looks around. He's like, no, they don't think it was you. They think it was somebody else. I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. Thanks, Dad. Love you. We'll see you soon. We're off to our honeymoon. And not long after that.
Well, I just want to say this real quick. The comment on Dennis Hopper. Yeah. So here's the thing: is Dennis Hopper? He was like he was previously a police officer, but now he's just kind of like a glorified security guard.
Yeah,
Somehow,
right.
some way, he's got this trailer that it's an interesting set piece because he's got this trailer that he lives at that's literally like, a hop, skip, and a jump away from the fucking train tracks in Detroit. It's always in movies. It's like sometimes I always kind of wonder, do they just set these things up just because this would be fucking interesting, or does somebody actually live like that? I always it's like the same thing with like Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon. How the hell does he get a trailer on the beach somewhere in Los Angeles area?
I think Lethal Weapon, that's just a cool setup.
Yeah.
This, I think, or you would maybe, this, I think I could, it's Detroit. I've never been to Detroit, but, we've seen pictures. I can
I've seen
assume
RoboCop.
Yeah, I've seen RoboCop, I can see that being real. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it also is just like, I guess it shows just character-wise, like, hey, he's out there, he's alone, he's a recluse, he's a very lonely old man. I think it's just kind of like a couple of things. I can see that being true, and then I could also see that happening. So
I think it's sometimes for his
yeah.
I think it's also for his character too, because it kind of shows that like almost there was something that obviously he probably was thrown off the force at some point, like he didn't actually get a real retirement, because it seems like this is like the cheapest. Because think about it, how the hell do you even sleep when you're fucking that close to a train yard? Like it's not even just train tracks; he's next to a train yard, so there's got to be so much commotion going on. So I think it's almost this weird one that like he's literally on like as much of the down outs, but hey, he's got his own place still. He's got his dog. He's got this beater trailer next to the fucking train yard in Detroit, and he's working a security guard job because that's all he knows.
And he's you're right. Probably was not given proper retirement, probably because of his drinking or something like that. So, which when Christopher Walken comes in and they have the famous Sicilian scene, which we won't quote right here, but like
it's amazing though, because literally Dennis Hopper just chooses scenery on Christopher Walken real quick.
That scene, because they're saying like the way, for those who haven't seen the movie, they're saying the reason because Christopher Walken's coming in, threatening him, being. I think here's the thing I really like, because I feel like I love Christopher Walken. He's fantastic, but I feel like he's almost at this point right now where a lot of the times he's playing like it's kind of a tongue-in-cheekness. He's playing Christopher Walken-esque character, Christopher Walken kind of funny in this comedy or something like that. He was in Severance and he was playing like a very toned down, like realistic gay dude in Severance, and he was fantastic in that. But a lot of the times it's often like, I'm Christopher Walken, I'm the dad in a romantic comedy, I'm Christopher Walken and I'm in this fucking bullshit ping pong movie, so it's kind of like stuff like kind of that after a while. So you kind of forget, sometimes you forget, oh right, Deer Hunter, oh shit, like I think King in New York?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's, things like that. And you come to this, like, fuck, that's right. He is so, you always knew he's good. You knew he's fantastic. But you see him just do like, Christopher Walken, just collecting an easy paycheck. Don't mind me. Like, oh, you do what you do, Chris. And then you see something like this, like, fuck, that's right. That's right. He is one of the fucking best. And when he comes in and does that, like, Sicilian, like, things like, you see, I'm Sicilian. I'm not going to do the accent. He's like, you see, I'm Sicilian, so I know when people are lying, because I'm a master liar. You can't bullshit a bullshitter kind of thing. And he's not, and Dennis Hopper's not giving up any information. And then he says, like, or no, not enough information, not enough real information. And that's when he says to him, like, he says the story, like, apparently Tarantino heard this from like a black uncle, I guess, the whole Sicilian thing.
Well, because he had there's this dude that was, it was like, I think it's partially his, one of his like stepdads, because he talked about this dude in like his cinema speculation book a bunch, because this was one of the guys that kind of like introduced him to all sorts of fucking movies, and he would just like take him out, like, and they would go to the cinema all the time, so he showed him like,
same dude. Okay, gotcha.
I'm pretty sure that's the same dude, because this guy like really inspired him for like a lot. He talks about him a lot in that book, and like this dude really, it was like his like sort of his mom dated him. I don't think it was necessarily a stepdad, but his mom
Big
dated
D
him,
or something like that.
Yeah, like for years or something like that. So his formative childhood was really built a lot by this dude taking him to the cinema.
Gotcha. So he told that to Tarantino, and Tarantino remembered that and used that for this, of like how Sicilians got their black hair and all their like olive colored skin and all that. And then he says that, and he's saying this to this racist ass like Italian mobster guy, and they're all laughing like, he's gonna die, you're gonna die, this is funny, you're gonna die though. And then like he says like, now tell me, you're a master bullshitter, am I lying? You know, so like there's a rumor, I don't think it's true, obviously it's not true, but there's a rumor that I heard for a little bit that like Dennis Hopper, yeah. Dennis Hopper came with that on the fly. I'm like, that's a lot to come up with on the fly. But then I'm imagining, was he just saving that? Was he like on the set of like Mario Brothers? And when they're in like the interrogation scene, he goes up and he grabs like John Leguizamo by the face. Was that he's gonna do that originally?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's such a Tarantino kind of written scene and so on. And the simple one I always say is like well, it's kind of like the story of 300. Like, think about that. What happened to those poor Greeks and stuff like that? It's kind of the same thing. You know, they stood ground and then they were conquered and so on like that. You know, and one thing we forgot to mention, this is actually a very pivotal thing, but what happened back in Gary Oldman's scene or whatever is, for some reason, Christian Slater brings in his wallet, you know, and I think that's just there that like he's just kind of he's not a professional, yeah, he's green, all that stuff, and so fucking Gary Oldman finds it, so he knows who Clarence is and all this kind of stuff, but in the chaos and so on like that. I think he picks his wallet, but he forgets to pick up his ID because Gary Oldman pulled it out. So he forgets that there, and this is the thing that's leading everything together. So this is why fucking Christopher Walken and his goons and so on like that, because the whole time Dennis Hopper's trying to be like, hey, I never see my son, I haven't seen him in 3 years, he's playing that off because he technically had it until literally yesterday, you know. And so this ID is the one thing that kind of is like screwing over their master plan. Like if he didn't forget his ID, he probably could have got away scot-free, but that's the one thing that's going to keep them on their tail.
And the one thing that I guess the mobsters got there before the cops did, and they grabbed the ID probably. So, but yeah, no, that's, I forgot to mention that part. You're right. And then the rest of it, really, it's more of just the back and forth, because then I guess from here you just play it scene by scene. But I guess from there they go to L.A. They're just like, well, we got all this coke or heroin. Oh, it's cocaine.
No, it's cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, well, I guess we could just sell this. And we don't really want to. We could probably make a lot of money off it if we sold it to the right people. The thing is, we just want to, you know, a quarter of the price is enough for us. You know, we're not gangsters, we're not drug dealers. We just want a nice little piece for ourselves and get out. So that right there, and they're looking for like a Hollywood producer, the Joel Silver-esque character, to like buy it, and that's their for his friend who's an actor, the guy played by, what was his name, Michael Rappaport, or
Rappaport, who I always think of whenever I see him, he literally looks like your brother Matt, like
he does look a lot like him.
It looks like totally like him and so on like that. And then the funny part too is like, so they got him, that's his best friend, or Chris Slater's character's best friend. He's living in Hollywood trying to become an actor, you know, just borderline barely making it and so on. He's got a roommate, which of all his roommates, he's got Brad Pitt in there. And Brad Pitt's just this stoner guy. And what I love about it is when Brad got like the script is because he wasn't a stoner in in Tarantino script or anything like that, but he's like, Tony, my character doesn't really do it. He just kind of sits around. He just says a few things here and there. He's like, let's make my guy like a stoner guy, and then I'll just lounge here on the couch and eat potato chips and fucking like, you know, say my lines. So I think that's just kind of the funny thing. He's like, that's all Brad Pitt's. He's in it for 3 scenes just to do that.
No, yeah, you're right, but he steals it when he's in it. It's also one of those things where he said, Tarantino said something to the effect of like, yeah, you know, we all just had that roommate. They're just there. Just they never left the couch. They're just there. And for somehow like Brad Pitt kind of made it his own and basically stole the show every time he comes on screen. And it was just meant to be a quick dismissive thing, but he actually makes it something really funny.
No, yeah, no, yeah, he's just excellent in this. And once again, this is very early days Brad Pitt. So Thelma and Louise. He's in
Legends of the Fall.
Cutting in Class. God, I don't think Legend Falls yet. I think that's 94, to tell you the truth.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's still proto Legends of the Fall. He might have had some of his hillbilly movies, because I love those early days Brad Pitt ones where they're almost like Tarantino-esque, where it's him and like Juliette Lewis and so on like that, and they're just like hillbilly type people in it, and he's like a psychopath, like California. And then there's another one too. It's like literally both of them again, but it's a made-for-TV movie. It's kind of the same thing. Hilarious as well too.
I just like the idea of like, hey, you guys know you did it with California with a K? Yeah. We're going to do it again, but it's made for TV. Like, oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's similar, yeah, it's in that same time, but maybe not as funny. Not like Brad Pitt, like, stinky bitch. Or like, I love when like Juliette Lewis is there and she's like, hey, she's like coming out of the trailer. She's got like her tit out. He's like, hey, you put that titty back. We gotta watch that movie again. That movie's so fucking hilarious. I know that's one of those ones too. Probably actually. I thought we watched it together for some reason.
We watched it, but then we had to go do something, and I saw like the first 40 minutes of it or so.
Because it's one of those movies. I know that some people probably watch and be like, man, that's a sad, dark movie of abusive relationship. Like, I thought it was fucking hilarious because it's Brad Pitt doing like his like hillbilly like accent with the scary Brad Pitt days.
I'll have to, I need to watch that again. I never finished it, but I was enjoying it. But yeah, I think Guy Pearce was the normal guy in it. Maybe it wasn't Guy Pearce, but I feel it was something.
Right. Might have been.
I think it was someone like Guy Pearce. But anyway, but yeah, from there, and I think it seemed kind of funny because the guy Elliot, the guy who's like the assistant to the director, like. I think it's kind of interesting because how weak the guy is, but at the same time you still feel like a little bad for him in some ways. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, you can tell he's a guy who was not a good actor. He really wanted to be an actor and try to work his way up, but then this producer just kind of kept him at this level. Whether he was never going to be a good actor, so he just kept him that level. So he's just there at this level, and then but the producer still thinks he's doing him a favor,
Yeah. And then he treats him like the bitch assistant, and so he talks down to him. He makes him feel like he's always an idiot and so on. Yeah, you do kind of feel bad because it's he's probably on paper he's not a bad guy. He's a little sleazy. Yeah, he's not perfect
sleazy,
at all.
Yeah. He's not a he's not a character you want to follow, but he's a guy. He's way out of his depth. I've said that phrase a lot this episode, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the douchey yuppiness. He's got the tide switching around his neck. He's driving the Porsche. He's really trying to. It's he really wants to fit in. It feels like because he takes acting classes with fucking Michael Rapport's character Dick Ritchie and so on like that. So that's how they sort of know each other. But it's almost like since he realizes he's not getting parts, he's kind of taking these extra jobs as the assistant for the producer dude and so on like that. And he's trying. It's one of those he's trying to live big, but he's always going to be bottom of the barrel, no matter what.
Well, he seems like he's trying to fit in. That's the thing. He's trying to fit in, and he's not really. He's making okay money working for the producer, but at the same time, the idea of he's never really going to be what he wants to be. And it's also something interesting just with the producer, because when you see him, when they first show the producer and you see him, when you first see the producer, oh, this guy's gonna be a raging fucking dickhead because, the road rage, and he yells at some guy flipping the bird, I could have you fucking killed, And then they get to the meeting and he's the nicest, calmest guy in the world to everybody who doesn't know him. But to Elliot, he's still condescending and he's still an asshole. But to everybody else, he's calm. He's like, get yourself some coffee. Oh, yeah, right over here, man. Come on. Oh, it's okay. Cool. Let's talk movies for a minute. Oh, that's so cool. So he's just this guy who's just this guy's cool. What are you talking about? You see what he treats Elliot okay, this is his ease in. This is how he does it. Okay.
Yeah. He's in this. He's a sense. He's the Hollywood producer. But at the same time, it's he's a producer who obviously turns out good fucking movies because they talk about he's he's got this Coming Home in a Body Bag, the second greatest fucking Vietnam War movie to fucking Apocalypse Now. I mean, even so much so that the police officers, when they're getting involved and they're having a conversation and whatnot, and they're talking about well, who they're going to? They're supposed to do this deal at the producer's house. The guy who made Coming Home in a Body Bag, great fucking film.
Yeah. Well, I even like the Chris Penn and the other cop, like their dynamic, like because when they like put a wire on Elliot to go and basically do a sting on the drug raid, the drug deal. They're kind of commenting and they're like, I kind of like this Clarence kid. I kind of like. There's even a part where Clarence, the Christian Slater character, plays tough for a second, and they're in an elevator. He stops the elevator. He points a gun at Clarence. He's holding him down. He's like, "Do not fuck with me. I'll fucking kill you." And everybody's like, "Clarence, what are you doing? Stop! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up!" Well, like all this kind of just like, and he's like, "I'm sorry, man. This is my first time going to this. I just had to know. I'm sorry." And they're hugging each other. "It's okay, man. It's okay. It's okay." And then it cuts to the cops with the wire. And even when he's all like screaming and crying, like the cops are like talking to the wire, like, "Do not fuck this up. Do not fuck this up."
Yeah, the cops are like he's bluffing. He's bluffing. He's not gonna kill him. He's not gonna kill him. And then it comes up like Chris Penn later on. He's like, he's gonna fucking kill him. So it's like you probably fucking Elliot's hearing that, like, oh shit, I'm fucked. When the cops finally say, oh, he is gonna fucking kill him, here it goes.
It's kind of funny. I didn't notice this the first time I watched it, but this time I watched it, I'm like, okay, I mean, this isn't like the biggest thing, but I realized when they're talking about like, man, they're all the Oscar movies, like your movie was the last movie that like won a bunch of Oscars, actually deserved it. Everything now is like based on a book no one could fucking read or wants to read, And then like he said something. He was like saying they don't make movies, like Mad Max, that's a fucking movie. Rio Bravo, that's a fucking movie. There's another big one, and they're like,
he says Mad Max, Rio Bravo, and
it's a big one. What I know, Good, Bad, the Ugly.
Yeah, Good Bad. That's like the biggest one of them all.
I can't believe, it's one of my favorite movies. I can't believe I drew a blank on that one, which is fitting. He says those movies because all those movies have something in common with the closing. Maybe not Mad Max as much, or maybe because the oil or whatever. So there's the resource. Good, Bad, and the Ugly, because it's a three-way fight. Mm-hmm. And then Rio Bravo, because it's just a big fucking shit show coming in from all fucking angles.
Yeah, they got to hold off the whatever the police or the sheriff's station or whatever you want to call it in the Old West.
Yeah. So like that right there. So it's just like, okay, foreshadowing. I feel like this time around watching the movie, maybe he was just making references, but I feel like that's foreshadowing for like, because you have the dealers, you have the dealers, you have the gangsters, you have the cops, and then I guess you got the and the producer, I guess, and his people. So like all that in the middle. And then just this crazy shit show of a shootout happens, which I think it's kind of interesting because this crazy shootout happens, but like Clarence just kind of like this starts, he peeks in, he gets shot in the eye. He doesn't have like the big old like fuck you, let's go, but like
he's overtaken a leak and hearing Val Kilmer, Elvis Presley show up and being like, hey, how you doing? It's going.
We're shaking for you.
Yeah, here, I'll reach on and it'll reach around here.
Good luck with me. Come on.
And so he obviously doesn't hear any of this stuff break in there. And we also forgot to mention, like, right before this scene happens is that one where we talked about before, but is where Patricia Arquette gets like beat by Gandolfini because he finds out where they are, and he's kind of like the main hitman. There's a bunch of mobster guys, but James Gandolfini's kind of the crazy guy that they send after. He literally cuts Dennis Hopper at the very beginning when he's doing the torture scene. He gets really into it and so on like that. But he's in there. He's just going to beat the living daylights out of her, and it's actually a really good scene because, as I said, it goes through like she's just getting brutalized and she's not giving anything up. She's not giving up Clarence. She's not telling him where it's at and so on like that. And I think through this whole time, she knows what's up. She knows that no matter what, he's going to kill her. So there's nothing. She's just got to hold out. If she gave it up, he would kill her in a second. That would be it. And he eventually finds, he's like, it's sitting underneath the fucking bed the whole time. You've had it here. You went through all this shit. I slammed you into the fucking wall, threw you into the mirror, busted your face around a couple of times, and it's been sitting underneath this the whole time. I didn't happen to look, And then she still kind of fights back, where she fucking stabs him with like the corkscrew at one point. Yeah, and then fucking Yeah, and then the stomach, and then fucking, smash. They have a brawl in the bathroom and everything like that, and she like clobbers him over the head with like the top of the toilet, the big old porcelain
with
part.
an Elvis bust they got like at a gift shop some point.
Yeah, that just happens to be there, and he just takes all this, and then she kind of has her scene, I guess you would say, almost like Christian Slater's, where he kills Gary Oldman and just goes to fucking town on him and just unloads. Instead, she unloads in a primal rage of like fucking stabbing him to death with that corkscrew.
And then also gets like an aerosol can and like a lighter and just like sets him on fire, and just like, because that scene is fucking brutal. That scene is crazy intense. And people are like, what the fuck are we watching? Just like.
I think that is the scene that kind of makes it like where I think people be like, oh shit, this is pretty fucking intense.
First time I was watching it, like I had a feeling she was gonna make it out okay, but I was scared for her the first time around, But because you see, the thing is, I know I mentioned this earlier, but like she gets knocked around a lot by him, and she knows why he's there before he even knows. She plays dumb, and she's playing kind of cute and ditzy, kind of dumb, but then he starts smacking her around, and she's like toughing it out, and then like to the point of like she could just end it. But she chooses to like play dumb for a minute longer, and that's where she waits for the upper hand, stabs him in the foot with the corkscrew, and then any moment she can from there, she finds something to smash him in the side of the head. She smashes him in the side of the head with a fucking Elvis bust, was with the top of a toilet lid, sets him on fucking fire, unloads a shotgun into him at some point, I think.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like full on balls out crazy. So that's one of those scenes with her where it's like, I already liked the character, and it's like, oh, I liked her because she killed, but I like that scene kind of showed, aside from the killing, it showed she's more complex. Like she's willing to like, she can tough it out. She's not like a pushover. She can handle herself too, and the fact that she brought down like fucking James Gandolfini, so yeah.
Well, and I think that's once again that's where really the true romance element of the movie I think comes in, is the I guess you'd say the moral is that like if you love somebody so much, would you kill for them, in a sense? Like it goes like on that kind of thing, because that's kind of what it is.
Would you kill James Gandolfini for the person you love? Would you kill Gary Oldman?
Gary Oldman.
Well, I really like The Dark Knight, but fuck, let me think about that.
So that's kind of where that's going.
Nancy's good too.
Yeah, Zach. That's what I mean. Gary, he plays so many great roles. I still think to this day and age, I think he's the ultimate actor. I don't think anybody else can top him in how many fucking different things he can do.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, maybe not the first one that comes to mind, but he was good in it. Come on,
He's still fucking good in it. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so this gets back to the shootout. We get this cool three-way, almost like kind of like, leading up with those other movies and so on like that. This shootout goes on. And it's funny because I almost want to say the person who because there is the one bodyguard guy who's fucking like way too intense right off the fucking bat.
Ponytail.
Yeah, he's got a little ponytail and everything like that. He's just fucking like, he's got a gun, man. Like, Purdue, you got a gun. It's like, oh, dude, calm down. Like, we're all friends here and everything like that and stuff like that. And then when it gets to like when everybody gets to the standoff and the fucking police bust in, the monsters bust in and everything like that, that dude with the ponytail is like, I fucking hate pigs.
I want to say something. It's going to be a little tangent, and we have to wrap it up soon, but it'll be a little tangent here. That it's a show that I really like is Frisky Dingo. For those who don't know, that is the show that the creators of Archer made before they did Archer. It was an Adult Swim show. I'm not going to go into the whole concept of the show, but there's a guy we had on this podcast almost 10 years ago, almost, named not James, my friend, not Jamesville, who's on Octorok Talk with me, which one day Octorok Talk might come back, we'll see. But another guy named James who I worked with, and he was on the show one time, and I showed him Frisky Dingo, and we almost at some point we were just speaking to each other in Frisky Dingo quotes, and there's a scene where I almost kind of like remembered the scene happening, because of the parody Frisky Dingo did for it. Because there's the Chris Penn character who's like, this is for Cody, you know, his partner, and he shoots the guys like, I need an ambulance, I need an ambulance. And like, there's a character in Frisky Dingo named Wendell, and he has like, this is for Cody. He's like partner, he shoots, and then he shoots, and then Cody walks the corner. Hey man, I'm fine. Like, Cody, what you do? And throws in the gun. So we would always, I mean, there'd be a bunch of like quotes we'd always throw, but a lot of times we would just randomly say like, this is for Cody. Like, always, we just. So God, for some reason, even though I knew it was Chris Penn, I couldn't help but hear like Wendell's voice from Frisky Dingo.
Oh man, yeah, I gotta throw that one back on again. That was such a good show. But yeah, then this shootout just goes insane, and literally everybody gets blasted. Everybody fucking dies. The producer dies. Fucking poor what's his face?
Elliot just gets
gets blasted and so on like that. The cops all go down.
Everybody gets like basically RoboCops, like gets like Peter Waller RoboCops basically.
Yeah, exactly. And even like Chris Penn, I think is it Chris Penn like the last cop that's there? And then of course fucking Patricia Arquette fucking unloads on him. You know, he's got his body armor and everything, but he stands sideways, so he gets shot there.
He's the one that shot Christian Slater in the head when he popped his head around a corner.
That's right. So yeah, so she unloads on him, and then she thinks that for a moment there she's the only one left, and so on like that, because Chris Slater's got this big. It looks like he got blasted in the fucking eye and everything like that.
And Michael Rapaport like sneaks out.
Oh yeah,
I feel a little bad for him because for all he knows, all his friends and everyone's dead and all this, and they're like, oh my god, he just like flops away, running away, thinking his best friend and all this is dead, and then so you feel a little bad for him, even though he makes it out.
So he's got to go back home to Brad Pitt, who's be like, yo, dude, like, I got to explain stuff. He's like, oh, man, there was these dudes that came by earlier, man. Like, you know, thought they were your buddies. I told them where you're hanging out at.
Well, assuming Brad Pitt's still alive, because we don't really know if they killed him or not.
That's true. Brad Pitt could have been dead, you know. Probably they thought, they're like, this guy's fucking so high out of his mind, forget it. Like, I don't even think the directions that he was giving him were really helpful at all.
Well, I do think it was funny when like he's like taking his time. Like, well, I'm not sure. They cock the gun. Actually, you know, like that kind of snapped him back into reality just slightly.
Yeah, exactly. You guys want to hit? Oh no, okay, well, never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everybody's fucking dead here and stuff. But then Patricia Arquette does realize that Christian Slater's still breathing. He's still alive. He's just got this shot, or it's just kind of grazed him almost, enough to take out his eye, but enough that didn't go through his skull.
Yeah, and they escape to Mexico with the money they're going to make on that, the money they're going to do with that deal. And then jumps ahead. They have a little kid they named Elvis. They live on a beach out in Mexico, and they play that nice little jingle that's throughout the whole movie that sounds like it belongs in Little Mermaid. But, you know.
That's one of the weirdest things I will say about this movie. Is like, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like, the music choice that they've got for this film is a strange one. Like, the theme of it's very Little Mermaid like, and I want to say it's Hans Zimmer that does it too. Yeah, so it's fucking Hans Zimmer, and it must have been what Tony Scott won for it. But it's an odd one. And you mentioned before that if Tarantino did it, the music would be kind of different. It would be almost interesting to see once again if there was also a re-edit of this movie, just to see what the music choice would be if it was. It's not that it's bad. It's just kind of goofy. It makes you kind of like laugh every time you kind of hear it, because it just seems like maybe it's supposed to sound innocent, I guess is what it's supposed to be. And since it's got that kind of beach like Little Mermaid theme, I mean that's where the movie ends up at. I mean there's probably a rhyme or reason how it's there, but it does feel kind of still weird.
I think it's meant to be innocent, optimistic. What wonders does the future have in store for us as a young couple? I think it's kind of meant to be something kind of like that, but at the same time, I mean, and I get, you know, it kind of contrasting that, like, because it first opens up at some Elvis, you know, and then you cut to like, you know, like Detroit, like looking all like haggard and like halfway destroyed, and they're playing that song where I see people like crowding around like a flaming trash can and all that, and I get the contrast of that, you know, like, oh look, hope coming in the places you least expect kind of thing, you know. It's not really even a bad song, it does feel just off, you know. but like, I mean, I know it, I recognize it. I don't really confuse that with any other score. Even if you put on like the Little Mermaid like score, I'm like, oh, that's True Romance right there. That's the Little Mermaid, you know. So
yeah,
it's just that Under the Sea has a little bit of that kind of vibe to it, you know. So just that instrument, that little like that, I don't know what you call it, but that little like dome, like
the steel drum, yeah.
So
it's got a lot of that there. Brad Pitt's character that does get some Soundgarden playing over him at one point, though.
Yes. I was like, oh fuck yeah, you know.
So that's badass there. But other than that, though, they have a few songs throughout, of course, a couple Elvis things and so on like that, but not tons. It plays that theme a lot and the kind of variations of it, you know. It is kind of a bizarre one. But it'd be kind of interesting to see what if Tarantino kind of did his thing and threw some 70s like oddball tunes in there and kind of pieced it together that way. Or I wonder if he would even do more, because the characters are so 50s Elvis inspired, would he throw a bunch of oddball 50s rockabilly type stuff in there instead?
I can see that. I could also see, well, I know that he said, like, I remember Tarantino saying there's one music, and I didn't hear the whole audio commentary, but like, I don't mean just to quote the audio commentary the whole time, but there was one music cue that apparently Tony did keep, and that's, I think, the one where they're getting the tattoo, and I forget the guy's name, but I recognize his voice. He is the claymation snowman in the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
and the fucking
he's a country singer. I forgot his name, but it's definitely that guy's voice. He is the same guy who says "Have a holly jolly," but has a whole like country career outside that song. I'm drawing a blank on the blur. It's gonna fucking bother me.
Yeah, well, we know who you're talking about, though. Yeah, Frosty Snowman.
Burl Ives.
Okay, yeah.
Burl Ives, yeah. So, aside from that, apparently there wasn't really a whole lot of music cues he followed from the script, but I imagine a lot of like oddball 50s rockabilly stuff, or even some 60s stuff in there too, probably. Even the sex scene was very like Tony Scott oriented, the blue silhouetteness, you know, where, in all honesty, I mean you saw a lot of both of them, but I thought you saw more of Christian Slater than you did Patricia Arquette, in all honesty. You saw a lot of Slater ass, I'll say.
Yeah. It's like Top Gun 2. It's almost like Tony's like, I want our stab at trying that again.
Yeah. We showed too much of the ladies. We're going to show a little more of the guys in this one. Spread them, Slater. Spread them. Good. Yeah. So it's, but no, maybe that's why I was almost NC-17. You know, he was showing a hole there. But yeah. But like, what was I going to say? Sorry, it's late here. But no, this movie is fantastic. And I remember what I was going to say. Unfortunately, I could not find this on any streaming services here, and I was too lazy to fish it out of my DVD Blu-ray case and put it in. But God bless Internet Archives, greatest website in the world.
It really is. It holds on to all stuff.
And they have this on here. And going what you said about a Tarantino cut, there is one thing. There's a link. I didn't click it. There's one that says Quentin's cut. I don't think he did it himself, but maybe some good Samaritan out there followed the scripts and just cut it that way. Maybe I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, but
I'm gonna look that up, because that wouldn't be out of the question for something to be like that. So that's actually something be cool to take a look at and just see what that is. I'm definitely gonna check that out. But yeah, even True Romance just as is or whatnot, I kid you not, if you want to just put it like in the list of Tarantino stuff, for me it's actually kind of high up there. I actually like this one quite a bit. I mean, it's at least in my top 5 favorite Tarantino movies. You know, same with Tony Scott. I think it probably I'd say in my top 3 favorite Tony Scott movies at least. You know,
it's my favorite Tony Scott film. Tarantino, it's within my top 5. The thing is, there was a point I could have told you, like, in exact order, like this Tarantino movie that right now I can just tell you Pulp Fiction, and then like loosely like another like 3 or 4 like around this area. It's kind of hard. It kind of changes. Like at one point in time, I'll say this, at one point in time, Jackie Brown was like second to last, but then with time and age, Jackie Brown became like second or third favorite of mine. I still
Same
love
here.
Kill Bill. I still love Kill Bill. But Kill Bill for me now is probably more mid-range. Like that's not mid-range in general, just mid-range for Tarantino. Like I still love Kill Bill, but like it's probably moved from like second or third of his movies to like the middle of his movies for me. In all honesty, I kind of find myself like, Reservoir Dogs always kind of stayed up there.
Yeah, like Django and.
Well, even Django. I guess maybe it's just something happens getting older, but like the more louder, like bloodier action ones, I still love those, but those aren't as high. I mean, my least favorite is Death Proof, and then second least favorite is probably Inglourious Bastards. But
I probably agree with you there too. Even though I like all the movies, I'm not saying there's not a single one, but if I had to rank them. I kind of agree there. And as it kind of goes on, it's like one of the other ones that's really moves up there every single time I watch is fucking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, I would say that's in my top 5 probably. I like it quite a bit. Maybe number 5, but like.
Well, it's funny. When I first saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was disappointed by it. Like I liked it, but I was disappointed because I thought I was getting a different kind of movie. When I first saw that, I thought I was getting like, I knew it wasn't gonna be like action the whole time, but I thought there's gonna be more of like a, not a slice of life, then suddenly a time jump, and we have all the crazy shit at the end. I thought it was gonna be like. It's not like a heist, like Ocean's 11 kind of thing, but some kind of like wheeling and dealing kind of thing. And somehow the Manson family gets involved, and somehow like kind of like in a Jackie Brown kind of heist, where the heist is not like we're going in and we're going to like, the heist isn't we're going to go into this casino, we're going into the safe. The heist is you distract him, I go around here, I grab the thing, I get out. The heist is very simple. It's just the planning of it and all the personal connections within it. That's the thing with that. I thought it was going to be something like that, but it's very much just like a day in the life of these people. And when I first saw it, I was like a little like, I'm liking this, but it's a little kind of like meandering, kind of lingers a bit much. And then I kind of like watching it again, something just kind of clicked, and I realized, oh no, this is really good. I really love this movie now. It's just one of those things. I don't know what happened. It just kind of something just snapped.
Yeah, well, it's almost reminds me of the same way I felt about Jackie Brown. Like the first time I remember watching Jackie Brown, I was like, it's good, but it's kind of long and so on like that. And then each time I watch it, I like it more and more and more. That it keeps climbing the list, and there's just certain ones that's like that. They kind of stick out, and that's kind of like how Once Upon a Time. It kind of reminds me. It's kind of like a hangout movie. There's just a lot of hangout scenes where it's like it's really not doing anything, but you're just there to see what these characters are, just kind of doing on a day and so on like that. But no, it's been fun to kind of go back and watch through some of these ones too, because it's that weird thing that like sometimes there's all these movies like True Romance. I remember there's a time period where you used to watch that like so many times. I was like, I probably haven't seen it in over a decade. It's weird how it kind of time slips by you, and then. In the process, I was going through, like, I watched Desperado. I watched Once Upon a Time in Mexico again because I hadn't seen those in a good while. And, just kind of pulling out some of these ones here from about this era that, it's just been a good moment. But, for me, it's like one of those ones. True Romance is still, I really would say probably even top 3 favorite Tarantinos. I like it a lot. Like, and even just when watching it again, I felt like it still kept me intrigued the whole time. I love the dialogue in it. I just love all the characters and all the different actor cameos, and everybody gets to choose scenery and so on like that. And you just combine both the Tarantino writing and character styles with the Tony Scott action and cinematography look and so on. There's a whole lot here.
Yeah, no, this movie is fantastic, and I haven't watched it in a long time, so I'm glad we got around to that and came back to it. But somewhere within my top 5 Tarantino films, definitely. Like no real solid order, but yeah, somewhere up there. Pulp Fiction's my 1, but everything else just kind of cluttered. Like the other 3 or 4, just kind of hovering around that. But fantastic movie.
Yeah, but great film. Yeah, if you could seek it out, you can find it somewhere. I don't think I saw it streaming anyways, because I pulled up my DVD because I didn't see it anywhere else. So it might be a little bit hard to find at this point. But at least there's that Internet Archives. So that's always cool.
Good old-fashioned Internet Archives.
Yeah, good old Internet Archives. But other than that, though, you can always check out all the Old Man Orange podcasts at YouTube and Spotify. Till then, I am Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.